Leo was 14 years old. He lived in a busy town with his mother. He liked computers, fast internet, and new things. He did not like old things. Old chairs were just chairs with broken parts. Old photos were just paper with faded colors. And an old watch that didn't work? That was just a piece of metal in a drawer. One Saturday afternoon, Leo's mother came to him. She had something in her hands. It was a small wooden box. The box was old and smooth at the corners. It smelled a little bit like dust and wood. "It's time somebody wore it again," she said. Her voice was soft. Leo opened the box. Inside, on a piece of dark blue cloth, was a pocket watch. He picked it up. It was round and heavy. The outside was gold, but it was not shiny anymore. The face of the watch was cream-colored. The numbers were Roman numerals. The hands were not moving. They were stopped at 23 minutes past 11. Leo turned the watch over. On the back, there were some words. They were hard to read, but he could see them. "To my son. Time is precious. Spend it wisely. Was this Granddad's?" Leo asked. His mother nodded. He wore it every day for 40 years. He was never late. He said, "A person who is on time is a person you can trust." Leo tried to wind the watch. He pushed the little button on the side and turned it. But nothing happened. He put the watch to his ear. There was no sound. No tick, no click. It was completely silent. "It's broken," Leo said. He felt a little sad, which surprised him. "There is a clockmaker on Bridge Street," his mother said. "His name is Mr. Aldridge. If anyone can fix it, he can." Bridge Street was a small, quiet street behind the main square. It had old stones on the ground. Leo had walked past it many times, but never went down it. Now, with the silent watch in his pocket, he turned the corner and walked slowly down the street. Halfway down, he found a little shop between a bakery and a bookshop. The sign on the door said Aldridge and Son, Clockmakers. The words and Son were covered with paint that didn't quite match. It looked like someone had tried to erase them. Leo pushed the door open. A small bell made a soft sound above his head. And then he stopped and stared. The shop was full of clocks. There were big clocks on the floor, tall as a person. There were small clocks on the shelves. There were clocks made of wood, clocks made of gold metal, clocks with round faces and square faces. And not one of them was ticking. The room was completely silent. It was the strangest silence Leo had ever heard. "They're not broken," said a voice. Leo turned. An old man was standing behind a counter. He had silver hair that was not very tidy. He wore glasses and a leather apron. A tiny tool was behind his ear. He had kind eyes and a calm smile. "They're just resting," the man said. "A clock is like a person. It needs to rest sometimes. You cannot run forever." Leo took the watch from his pocket. "This one has been resting for 12 years. Mr. Aldridge took the watch and held it gently. He looked at it very carefully. He looked at the front, the back, the little button on the side. He read the words on the back slowly. "This is a very good watch," he said. English. "From the 1940s. Your grandfather had good taste." "You knew him?" Leo asked. Mr. Aldridge smiled. "No, I didn't know him. But I know his watch. A watch can tell you a lot about a person. Look here." He pointed to a mark on the side. "This is from a wedding ring." He wore it on his left hand. "And this scratch near the top, he wound the watch at the same time every day. He was a man of habits, a man who liked order." Leo looked at the watch differently now. Before it was just broken. Now he could see stories in the marks. "Can you fix it?" Leo asked. Mr. Aldridge opened the back of the watch. Inside, Leo saw many tiny parts, little wheels and springs, all frozen and still. It looked like a tiny city made of gold. "I can fix it," said Mr. Aldridge. "But it will take time. These old parts, you can't hurry them. You must be gentle." He looked at Leo over his glasses. "Would you like to come back after school and watch me work? I can show you how a clock comes back to life, and maybe you will learn something about patience." Leo did not love the idea of patience. Patience meant waiting. He was not good at waiting, but something in the old man's voice made him feel calm. He liked the quiet shop. He liked the smell of old wood and oil. He liked the way Mr. Aldridge spoke, slowly, carefully, as if every word mattered. "Okay," said Leo. "I'll come back tomorrow." And so began the most unusual week of Leo's life. The next day after school, Leo went back to the clock shop. The bell chimed again. Mr. Aldridge was sitting at his workbench. A warm light shone down on the table. Many tiny tools were laid out in a neat row. "Right on time," said Mr. Aldridge. "That is a very good sign." He gave Leo a magnifying glass. "First lesson," he said. "Before you can fix something, you must learn to see it properly. Most people look but do not see. A clockmaker cannot do that." He pointed to the biggest wheel inside the watch. "This is the balance wheel. It is the heartbeat. If it is not perfectly balanced, the watch will be too fast or too slow. Even a tiny mistake will change everything." Leo looked through the magnifying glass. He saw the balance wheel for the first time. It was so delicate. The little spokes were as thin as hair. He felt suddenly very careful with it, as if it was a living thing. On the second day, Leo learned about the mainspring. This was a long, thin strip of metal curled up very tightly. "This is where the energy lives," Mr. Aldridge explained. "It is like a small, strong heart. You wind the watch, and the spring stores the energy. Then it lets the energy out very slowly, 1 second at a time. It is like breathing slowly when you are scared. It helps you stay calm and steady." Leo thought about that. He had never thought of a watch as breathing before. On the third day, he learned about the escapement. This was a very small part, but Mr. Aldridge said it was one of the most important. The escapement controls the speed. It says you can move but only one tiny step at a time. It is the boss of the watch. Without it, the spring would let all its energy go in one big rush. The escapement makes the watch patient. Leo smiled a little. "So even the watch has to learn patience?" "Exactly," said Mr. Aldridge, and his eyes twinkled. "Even a machine must learn to wait." On the fourth day, Leo learned to clean the watch. Mr. Aldridge gave him a very small brush, soft as a baby's hair. Leo had to clean the tiny parts very, very carefully. It took him 45 minutes to clean one small piece. His hand got tired. His eyes got tired. But when he finished and looked at the clean, bright metal, he felt a quiet, happy feeling. It was not a loud, excited feeling like winning a game. It was something deeper and warmer. "You are doing well," said Mr. Aldridge. "You are learning to care for small things. That is a big lesson." On the fifth day, they replaced the mainspring. The old one was old and weak. When Mr. Aldridge took it out, it broke into 3 pieces. "Even strong things get tired," he said. "That is not failure. That is just life." He showed Leo the new mainspring. It was shiny and full of energy. "Now," he said, "I will guide your hands. You will put it in." Leo was nervous. His hands shook a little. "What if I make a mistake?" "Breathe," said Mr. Aldridge calmly. "Your hands are always steadier when you breathe. In Out. Slowly. Leo breathed in, then out. His hands became still. Together they put the new spring into its place. It fit perfectly. "There," said Mr. Aldridge. "You have just given this watch a new heart." But it was on the 6th day that something magical happened. Leo was cleaning the inside of the watch case. He was being very careful. Then he saw something unusual. A very thin line, almost impossible to see. He looked through the magnifying glass. It was not a crack. It was a seam. "Mr. Aldridge," Leo whispered, "I think there is something hidden here." The old clockmaker leaned over. He took a very thin tool and gently opened the hidden compartment. Inside was a tiny piece of paper. It was yellow and very old, folded many times. "Go on," said Mr. Aldridge. "Open it." Leo's fingers were trembling again, but not from fear, from excitement. He unfolded the paper. There, in faded ink, were words written by his grandfather long ago. "To my son, always," and below that, "Time is love made visible." Leo read the words. Then he read them again. His eyes felt hot. His throat felt tight. His grandfather had hidden this message inside the watch decades ago. He had known that one day the watch would be opened, and he had known that someone in the family would find it. "My granddad wrote this," Leo said, his voice very quiet. Mr. Aldridge nodded slowly. He wanted someone to find it. He wanted someone to understand. Time is not just hours and minutes. Time is where we put our love. When we spend time with someone, we are giving them a piece of our life. That is what he meant. Time is love you can see. Leo held the tiny piece of paper as if it was the most valuable thing in the world. And in that moment he understood. The watch was not just a machine. It was a message. A gift of love that had traveled silently through the years. On the 7th day, the watch was ready. Mr. Aldridge put the last tiny piece into place. He closed the back of the watch with a soft click. Then he held it out to Leo. "Would you like to wake it up?" he asked. Leo took the watch. His hands were now steady. He pressed the button and began to wind. 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns. He felt the spring grow tight inside. Then he held the watch to his ear. At first there was only silence. Leo held his breath, and then, tick, a tiny, perfect, steady sound. Then another. Tick, tick, tick. The little heart was beating again. Leo smiled a huge smile. He couldn't stop smiling. The sound was so small, but it filled the whole room. It filled his whole chest. He reached into his pocket. "I have some money. It's not much, but—" Mr. Aldridge held up his hand. "No, put your money away. This repair is a gift. But you worked on it all week," Leo said. Mr. Aldridge smiled a gentle smile. "Your grandfather already paid me. Many years ago. Let me tell you a story." Leo sat still and listened. "When I was a young man, I opened this shop. For 3 weeks, nobody came. Not one customer. I sat here alone with my clocks. I thought I had made a terrible mistake. I thought I should close the shop and find different work." "And then?" Leo asked. "And then, one morning, your grandfather walked through that door. He gave me this very watch and asked me to clean it. It was a simple job, but I was so happy to have work. I did the best job I could." Mr. Aldridge paused. The lamplight shone on his face. "Your grandfather was kind. He told me a person who values time will always have work. He became my first customer. And over the years, he told other people about me. He sent people to my shop. He never asked for thanks. He simply believed in me. The clockmaker looked at Leo. So fixing this watch now for his grandson is my way of saying thank you. Your grandfather gave me something much more valuable than money. He gave me a chance. Now I am giving that back. Leo didn't know what to say. Words felt too small for what he was feeling. He stood up quietly, reached across the workbench, and shook Mr. Aldridge's hand. "Thank you," Leo said, "for everything." Mr. Aldridge's eyes were soft. "No, Leo, thank you. You reminded an old clockmaker why he loves his work. Now go. Let that beautiful watch see the world again." Leo walked home the long way that evening. He passed the bakery where the warm smell of bread filled the air. He passed the bookshop with its dusty windows. He walked through the main square, past the old fountain. The watch sat in his pocket, ticking softly against his chest. For the first time in his life, he noticed things. He noticed the color of the sky as the sun went down. He noticed the sound of birds settling for the night. He noticed the way people smiled at each other in the street. The world felt slower, softer, more precious. That night he sat on his bed and took out the watch. He read the little note again. Time is love made visible. He thought about his grandfather, a man he had never met, but who had left him this beautiful gift. He thought about all the mornings his grandfather had woken up, wound the watch, and carried it through his day. Every tick was a tiny act of love. He thought about Mr. Aldridge, who had given a whole week of his time to teach a boy he barely knew. He had expected nothing in return. He had been patient. He had been kind. He had shown Leo, without ever saying it directly, that the most precious thing you can give someone is your time, because time, once given, is gone forever. You cannot get it back. You can earn more money. You can buy new things. But the minutes you give to someone else, those minutes are yours, and then they become part of their life. That is what love looks like. It is showing up. It is paying attention. It is being present. From that day forward, Leo was different in small but important ways. He stopped checking his phone every minute. He started looking at people when they spoke to him. He noticed the way morning light came through the kitchen window. He heard the sound of rain on the roof. He learned to be patient. He learned that the quiet moments are often the most important ones. He wore the watch every day. It ticked steadily through all the important events of his life, through exams, through his first job interview, through his wedding day, through the births of his children. It became part of him, as familiar as his own heartbeat. Many years passed. Leo grew older. He became a father. And one Saturday afternoon, when his own son Thomas was 14, the same age Leo had been when he first held the silent watch, Leo called him into the living room. He held out the small wooden box, the same box his mother had given him so long ago. "Open it," Leo said. Thomas opened the box. Inside, on the same faded blue cloth, lay the watch. Its golden case was now a little more worn, polished by years of being held and loved. The hands were moving steadily, ticking away the seconds just as they had done for decades. "It's beautiful," Thomas said. "There is something else," said Leo. He opened the back of the watch, a skill he had never forgotten. He showed Thomas the hidden compartment. Inside, there were now 2 pieces of paper. The first one was old and yellow. "To my son, always." Time is love made visible. The second one was newer, written in Leo's own handwriting, for my son, Thomas. Time moves forward, but love stays behind. Wear this well. Thomas read both notes. For a moment he was silent. Then he looked up at his father, and his eyes were bright with emotion. "I will," he said. "I promise." "I will wear it every day," Leo smiled. He could hear the watch ticking in his son's hand, and in that small, steady sound he heard his grandfather. He heard Mr. Aldridge. He heard all the love that had been passed from one generation to the next, and somewhere, perhaps, in a little shop on a quiet street, an old clockmaker was smiling too.